Oh, welcome back on Tuesday. Another day at the Club World Cup in the books. Leo, Daniel, and me, Sean, in the house for VAR and Espresso episode 4. Basically, what I had said for the title here is the early Club World Cup matches have pretty much gone the way everyone has thought. I know Pedro's probably cleaning up with the books. It started yesterday with Chelsea and LAFC. I think we talked about probably Chelsea was going to win the game. We didn't know how that was going to turn out, but Chelsea I think did enough to win. I think maybe showed why they're just a little bit below some of the other teams that are maybe the favorites here. But welcome Leo and Daniel. What did you think about that Chelsea and LAFC match?
Oh, okay. So I think it was a game like we could expect from the two teams. Without being brilliant, Chelsea did the vital work by winning 2-0. It was, as we said yesterday, kind of a Conference League game between a team which was really favorite against the outsider typically. It was not, as I said, brilliant, but we saw things that we want to see when we watch Chelsea in a preseason game. Good Nicholas Jackson. I think I really would like to see him connected with or associated with Liam Delap, because I think Nicholas Jackson would be a great second striker in a team. He has a passing range which is very good, maybe better than the average one. And so we saw also, as we know, Liam Delap doing his first minute with Chelsea. He even made an assist. He displayed what he could bring to the team with physicality, with his moves, with his hunger for goals. So I think he will be a good fit in that squad.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, Jackson, I think Nicholas Jackson played really well. There weren't that many bright moments in the game. Actually, before we started recording, I was saying to Sean that he must be chuffed because Leo and I basically got with the predictions spot on. We said that this is going to be a fairly mundane, easy win. Probably.
Yeah.
And that's now happened. So weren't really impressed at all. There was one point when Buenaga, the Brighton brother, was played in behind and just had half of over. It was no more than a half. There really was. The word weren't many.
Daniel, I think there is a kind of a problem with the sound. We cannot hear you well. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, well, in that case, what I might do is just plow on and try and fix it in a minute.
Yeah, no problem. Now it's better.
Okay.
I was, look, I mean, we talked about this, like you said. I mean, the predictions were pretty straightforward. We'll go through the rest of the games and we'll see, how today turns out. But I think the way we kind of figured it out was some of the South American teams are going to be they're going to qualify for the next round. We don't know how far they're going to go, but they're going to be pretty good because they're in the middle of the tournament. The European teams are going to they're just more talented than some of these other teams, and I think you can just kind of they had 64% possession and bully's a little bit too strong of a word, but they're just better than LAFC. Chelsea's just better than LAFC, and if they show up at 65% level, they're probably going to win, and they don't need to be like Bayern and win 10-0. If you're trying to kind of pace yourself in this tournament. So I think that's what we saw definitely in that match. They were just a better team. And I just think you're probably going to see more of that. The second game was, clearly, we talked about it. Clearly the one that was kind of even, pretty even between the teams, and it ended up being even 2-2, 2 red cards, there was a lot of stuff, and it was a pretty good game there, pretty good match, and it was an interesting match to watch, just the way it played out. Leo, I mean, clearly the best game of the day, and clearly the most entertaining game of the day.
Yeah. But we have to say something about LAFC, that I think they were the best US teams during this start of the tournament. They got good players. They are interesting to watch. And even if Chelsea were better, the defensive line was kind of not the best to if they want to win this competition, they will have to help their level, because the defensive line, I'm not sure of that against bigger teams.
Yeah, and actually yesterday I went through the potential ties for the next round of the quarterfinals, sort of like a World Cup poster where you try and fit it all in. And I think it's laid out that Chelsea would probably play PSG in the quarterfinal. So it's probably one of those cases where actually as we go through the tournaments, but it's unlikely they'll get past PSG with that defensive line, as Leo was saying. However, Chelsea do have something to their advantage, which is, unlike other European teams, they haven't had that many minutes in their legs because there was such rotation in the Conference League and among the cup competitions domestically, that actually their big players haven't been overplayed. So that could be a benefit, although PSG have also been able to rotate because obviously they dominate Liga so much. But still, I get the feeling that Chelsea could actually improve, and actually it could get to that quarterfinal against PSG probably, and we could think, oh, okay, there you could see them getting momentum, like we've mentioned before, it just seems like they're just that little bit below the top tier still. But really interesting, and like I said, like the fact that Jackson plays well may well be that buying Delap could actually help him get to the next stage as well as a development player, because obviously his finishing isn't the best, but his all-round play has been pretty good this season. He seems to be the link. He seems to be the key player. Actually, when he's out of the Chelsea team, they don't play as well.
Yeah, and I think he can become one of the best strikers in the world, Nicholas Jackson. But he needs to improve in finishing the actions he creates, and he can become a very interesting number 9. I think he is already, but he can improve a lot. And just to say something about what you said about Chelsea not being or maybe being fresher than other big teams, we can practically say that during this season they got 2 teams, one for the Premier League and one for the Europa League conference. So yeah, I think their legs are in better form than the other ones.
Yeah, and also something. Actually, I'm going to bring it. Ask Sean a question. If that's right, because yesterday you made a very good point about actually how the tournament has been, where teams were playing, was actually relatively well planned, trying to maximize ticket sales. What do you think the reason is that they had LAFC playing in Atlanta? that seems like a strange one. Like as opposed to playing at home.
I think, I mean, originally when this tournament was scheduled, there wasn't supposed to be any matches on the West. I mean, it was really supposed to be an East Coast tournament, and the Gold Cup was supposed to be on the West Coast. And then all of a sudden you see PSG playing it, you know, in LA at the Rose Bowl. Like, you probably could have switched that and, you know, put them there and put LAFC, you know, in the Rose Bowl. But you know, I know they play it at a smaller stadium as it is, so maybe, you know, they wanted to put them in a bigger stadium, but I'm not sure why they did that, to be honest. I thought, you know,
that's my own question, because I just remembered that obviously originally LAFC weren't meant to be in this tournament.
Yeah, I think this is the reason why.
Yeah, you know, they weren't supposed to be in until they did that. So yeah, they probably had that scheduled out.
And to precise something, we saw. I read an article from The Athletic this morning, and they said that Club Lyon's fans went to Atlanta despite being in the tournament. So I think it was Club Lyon should have played in Atlanta, and now that LAFC took their place, they just play where they should have, where Mexicans should have played.
Yeah, it does make sense. But there is something. We talked yesterday about the worry of half-empty stadiums, and fortunately, the opening day the opening couple of days was pretty good, and even the ones that weren't fully sold had really good atmospheres. But the one at Atlanta was really concerning because I've got it written here. The capacity for Mercedes-Benz Stadium is 71,000, and we had just over. Well, official attendance was 22,000, but a lot of people reporting on the ground said it wasn't even that.
Yeah, I think it was probably less than that, and it wasn't. I mean, you'll see when we talk about the Flamengo and Tunis, what they did for that is they brought everybody down to the lower bowl and they made it a really good atmosphere. And, you know, because that stadium, the Link is usually very loud. So, you know, instead of, I think, doing that for that match, they just kind of left everybody scattershot all over. And it was just like, you know, it didn't look good. Whereas, you know, I didn't think for the 9 p.m. match, there was going to be a lot of people. It looked great on TV because everyone was in the lower bowl and everyone was really loud and there was flares and everyone was in colors and singing. So that made a huge difference. And maybe these tournament, you know, they have to figure out now, look, you know, even though these people paid whatever for the tickets, you know, you got to bring them down to the lower bowl and make it look better for TV because you can't have, you know, that what it looked like. And, you know, I know the Gold Cup is a different tournament, but that was embarrassing the other night as well. So.
Yeah. And this is something I also noticed on the Boca Junior game. The thing that the fans were all behind the goals, and it was kind of impressive watching on TV.
Well, should we go on to talking about Nelson?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's you know, I think that's right. You kind of you got to. It's I remember back to the World Cup in South Africa where early on it was the same thing. People couldn't get there. People didn't want to travel there, and it was, you know, they had to kind of adjust. And by the end of the tournament, people were kind of sitting wherever they had to sit, and they adjusted for TV. And, you know, I once again, as we go on, I think there'll be more fans. But, you know, today, you know, look, you know, River Plate's playing Aurora in Seattle. You know, interesting to see how many people go to that. You know, but, you know, once again, I thought no one would be at that game last night, and I was pleasantly surprised by the atmosphere. So.
Yeah. I will just try to fix my camera because I think it's blurry now. And do you see it clear or blurry?
It's a little blurry.
Yeah, I will just try to fix it and come back in the chat.
And we'll talk about Boca. You know, Boca Benfica 2-2. Benfica was down a man late and scored. Had a header from Nicolas Otamendi. They went down to 10 men in the 72nd minute. After Boca scored 2 goals in 6 minutes early in the first half, and Angel Di Maria scored a penalty 3 minutes into stoppage time in the first half. So, really very intriguing game. Really one of the high-level games of the tournament. Both teams are really even in this group. And, I just thought that was probably, this is for second place. And now basically what this does is it's going to set up you feel bad for Auckland City here a little bit, because basically now what this sets up is, who's going to score more goals against Auckland City, Benfica, or Boca Juniors, because they both have to play Bayern, and you maybe get a point against Bayern or whatever. Bayern, playing Bayern plays Boca in the second day.
So Boca's against Bayern next.
Yeah, maybe a chance for Benfica there, because if Bayern wins that, they're through. So, and I'm sure Bayern's not going to matter who they don't care as much who they play in that next round. They probably want to stay away from Chelsea, but whatever. So it's going to set up this chance here after this 2-2 draw, where both teams are going to want to score as many goals as possible against Auckland City, because that's how they may end up going through. If they both lose to Bayern, it's going to be on goal difference. So, both teams are going to have to annihilate Auckland City. But talk about this game, yesterday, because it was a very good game.
It was really good fun. In fact, small correction: there were 3 red cards. This is something I missed originally.
Yeah, Ander Herrera had won it, and
had to be substituted. But he got sent off after Benfica were awarded a penalty in first half stoppage time. He was sent off for his remonstrations from the sideline, so he's now suspended, I guess, for the rest of the tournament, assuming it's still 3 matches for a straight red.
I think a red card is just for a game during the tournament. Yeah, so he will miss next games against Bayern, but he's injured, so maybe he would have.
But yeah, Boca. I got to say, I think this is a real missed opportunity for Boca, and I'm sure they'll be kicking themselves. They played this game nearly perfectly. They allowed Benfica to have the ball away from their own goal. Benfica ended up having something like 61% possession, and they really didn't do much with it. And yet Boca managed to hit them with penetrating counterattacks. And after the opening half hour, 2-0 lead, it was completely deserved. And there was that the first goal especially was really clever with the left back. What was his name? Blanco, nutmegging the Benfica defender, putting a near post cross in, and then the deftest of finishes from the near post. It was really, really lovely.
Yeah.
So after half an hour, 2-0 up, and you think that, this is great. This is what we want to be, especially because the vocal Boca fans it was a great atmosphere. But then there was the penalty at the end of the first half, and it was a penalty, but it was also just quite clumsy because it was a corner. For those of you who didn't see, it was a corner played across the near post, and Otamendi gets to the ball first, and a defender just absolutely takes him out. I think it was Palacios who just tried to clear the ball, ended up just completely kicking Otamendi. So it was a penalty. But then you already mentioned Belotti got sent off in the 72nd minute. So Boca were in control. They were a goal up. They were a man up. They were in control of the whole thing, and yet conceded. Conceded the set piece with only 5-6 minutes to go, which is such a shame because until then, like I say, Boca were genuinely good for the win.
Yeah, I think too. It was for me. It was the best game of the competition so far because when I was watching it, I thought this is what I like in football. There were great atmosphere. There were drama because Otamendi's own goal, and then he scored the winner. Good players. We talked about obviously Angel Di Maria. We also talked about Bataria, who made a really good game. I kept an eye on Carreras as he's being linked with Real Madrid, and I didn't find him really extraordinary yesterday. But the main point of this game, and it was like a Copa Libertadores game. It was ruthless. It was there were goals, two big teams, a lot of supporters, and the thing is that what I thought watching the game is maybe here as European fans of football, we are maybe like spoiled children. For when I see videos on socials about River Plate fans, Flamingo, Halali, Tunis, and they are here by dozens of thousands. So the Club World Cup really means something to them. It's their opportunity to face the best teams in the world, the greatest clubs in history, and to show them that football is not only a European thing, that football can be played and be well played elsewhere in the world. And maybe instead of just criticize the competition, because we all know it's competition made for profit and everything, we can see how beautiful it is for some kind of clubs and some clubs for whom it means something. So that was my point of this very, very good game.
And actually, that's a really good point. Sorry, I'm just going to very quick one. Yeah, like one of the great things about this game is that there were two very clear tactical styles, but both sort of both were positive, even though one was allowing the other team to have possession at a certain distance.
Yeah.
Both were like when they attacked. Yeah, and actually, I'm going through some of the other matches, and there have been a couple of others. Like we didn't really give like the Botafogo Seattle Sounders game its due, because between them there were 35 shots, and that's really good fun. The one weird quirk though with this one, that as interesting as it was and as well fought and as competitive as it was, Boca only had 10 shots. Benfica only had 8. And actually, there was one save in the match, so we only had 5 shots on target. So we're not talking about sort of like end-to-end, that classic sort of chaotic game. It was just a very intriguing, very well-competed game.
And they wanted to play this game. It was not like Atletico, PSG, or something. There were two teams, and they wanted to win, and that's all.
And Leo, you know, as we get to the final game last night, Flamengo and Tunis. You know, if you watch on, you know, if you look on social media and you see, you know, the first night of the tournament, the Tunis fans, the Esperance Sportif, the Tunis fans in Times Square celebrating in New York, watching the match on the big screen, and having fun. And I saw them yesterday, marching to the game down Philly. I think it's either Broad or Patterson. They're marching down Patterson, I believe, probably from my buddy's cheerleaders bar down there that he has. And they're marching and the flares and everything, and the atmosphere was fantastic. Both sets of fans, great. The game, I think, was pretty straightforward. Flamengo is just a little bit of a better team. I mean, there wasn't a lot in it. Tunis was, just not as good. But when you think about how everything was going to play out for this tournament, I think now when you see the positivity of the fans and everyone's celebrating, the crowd was good. The whole bowl was filled. Everything was, everybody was excited for the match, and maybe at the end of it, when you say, whoever wins the tournament, but this is like a perfect example of why this tournament could be, special for the fans of these teams. Tunis probably isn't going to go through, but, they're going to get to play 3 matches here against some good teams. and it's a great trip for the fans and everything about it. I think this is what encompasses this tournament.
Yeah, I agree with this. And even on a playing view on the field, it's interesting to watch opposition of styles between different cultures of football, because Brazilian football isn't the same as Tunisian football. Um, I will not say Oceanian, because for Auckland City we didn't see a lot of football, but we will see Ulsan tonight against Mamelodi Sundowns. It will be an opposition of styles too, so it's interesting for viewers and supporters to see how football is meant to be in other part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, actually, part of the fun of this game were the fans, and actually, again, I've written down some of the stats for attendances. Right, so we said with the Chelsea LAFC one, we said the attendance was about 30% of the stadium was filled. And for the Flamengo Tunis game, there was an attendance of just nearly 26,000, which worked out about 38%. So really not that much difference in regard to percentage of a stadium, but the difference in enthusiasm and noise and engagement was incredible. And I'm not sure if that's partly because of, as we said before, LAFC not traveling to Atlanta, and actually, was it Cruz Azul fans were still going to, despite the fact their team wasn't there. So there was almost like a strange indifference about it, because because so many of these fans weren't actively emotionally engaged with it. Whereas this one was terrific, despite the fact it was only 38%. It was a really great atmosphere.
They were smart. I think this was, I talked I think they intentionally moved everyone down to the lower bowl, because when you looked, I have season tickets for the Eagles, so I've been to a lot of matches. I was actually at the first match ever at the stadium. It was Manchester United against Juventus in a friendly. But the way the stadium is, Atlanta's a dome. It's inside. It's weird. Sometimes the atmosphere is a little flat. It's even though it's outside, the way that it's built, it's real loud. It's very loud there. Just I don't know how they did the acoustics, but it works. But they you looked around. I think they just told everyone to go down, and the place looked, because they darkened the top, and it looked like it was full. I mean, it looked a lot more full than these other stadiums did. So if the Club World Cup did that, they made a conscious effort to do that, and I think that's really smart to do. Because it looks full on TV when you're looking, because they didn't, go to the top, and it makes the atmosphere better. Plus, this, obviously the fans were much more into it, and it made I think it made the game better. From the opening kick. Both these teams were up for it, and like you said, it's a clash of styles. Here's the other thing too. I think in America, once again, we can watch the Brazilian league all the time. We can watch any league in the world. Everything streams here, but not everybody watches it, even though it's on. Even if it's on BN Sports, or if it's on DAZN, or if it's on whatever channel. Well, I think now, because of this tournament, you see these teams, you're like, man, maybe I'm going to watch this stuff more. So I think this is a good advertisement for, it's the Zone or DAZN, right? They did something really smart for this tournament. It's free. No one has to pay for it. I think it's the same thing in England or wherever else. The whole tournament is free. You don't have to pay for the app. You download the app, and every single match is free. So I downloaded the app. I'm watching it. Well, now in the fall, when all these leagues are on every day, hey, it's $6 a month. All right, maybe I'm going to pay it now, because they show all these matches, and they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, the coverage has been very good on there. So I know the coverage next year for the World Cup is going to be really good, because of the facilities that are here. So, but I was I watched the game. I started to watch it. I turned it on. I'm like, it's going to be whatever. And then you get into it, and I thought it was a pretty intriguing match.
Yeah, and I liked it because as a Ligue 1 viewer, I saw Gerson, who used to play for Marseille, Luis Araujo, who used to play for Lille, Belaïli, who played in Brest and is in Angers. So it was kind of familiar to me, and it was cool to see these guys back. And just to say something about the attendance, I have to admit that I was kind of surprised by the one in Atlanta, because even if it wasn't Atlanta United who were playing, I thought that LAFC could have interested American people, because they're used to see them, watch them on TV or in stadium every week, and to identify to a US team, maybe it would have been easier for them, but no.
LA's a weird play. I don't know if you guys know a lot about LA, but it's a weird place. Like it's like Florida a little bit. Like no one is from Florida. No one is from Los Angeles. Like everybody moves to Los Angeles from somewhere else. They're like, because it's movies and all this stuff. Everybody from LA is like, or not everybody, but a lot of people are from other places. So it's just like a weird fan base, and it's not just the MLS.
And it's a young club too.
Yeah, it's not like the Rams, the Dodgers are different, I guess, but like it's just the Angels. It's just a weird fan. Like they don't travel. They're not like super interested. Okay. It's the same in Florida, because half of the people that live in Florida are from New Jersey or New York. They move down there when they get older because they're sick of being in the cold weather all the time, and it's nice in Florida. And LA is the same. So, but it's just weird. They don't travel. It's all like they probably would have been better off with, Leon, or like they probably would have been better off with one of those other clubs because they would have traveled more. Like you said, like, I mean, the fans actually did travel. So, it's a little unfortunate, but, it's just a weird team. They're very good though. I mean, look, they're talented, but they don't travel well. If you watch them in like, when you go to like the away matches, like in England, like Manchester United fans travel everywhere. Chelsea fans, they don't do that really that much in the MLS.
Yeah, true. I would say though that it does seem a bit strange that in trying to engage American fans with this, that Seattle are playing at home, into Miami are playing locally, and
LFC
were a late addition. It does seem strange that they didn't sort of try and rearrange it because, again, that level of engagement. But apart from anything else, LA have provided the two most recent winners of the MLS Cup, correct? LA Galaxy this last season. Previously, it was LAFC.
That's correct. So, and
it's a soccer city.
Their next match, it is because of. It's a multicultural city. It's such a big, there's a lot of people from Mexico, and the Mexican support in America is, that's, we talk about, they have games in, they would play US-Mexico games, or Mexico plays games in America all the time because they can sell more tickets here because the people here have more money. The Mexican people have more money here than they do in Mexico, so they could sell more tickets. But, it's interesting. And the next LAFC game against Tunis is in Nashville. So, like, that is, that's not going to sell. Like, Nashville's a great city. Like, the Tunis fans had fun in Philly. They're going to have Nashville's a great city for fans. And they have the downtown with all the pubs and everything and food. But, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people traveling to that for LAFC. But, yeah, it is a huge football city. But it's the same. The NFL, like, it's weird when the Rams went back there because they have this huge stadium now. Where the Super Bowl is, but the bars. There's more people watching the Steelers games, and there's more people watching because everybody's a transplant. So it's a weird city. It's a huge football city, but it's not everybody's like, and there's also the two teams. So not everybody, and the Galaxy are clearly an older team, and LAFC has just gotten good recently. So it's a weird dynamic.
Anyway, should we get back to the last match of the Club World Cup from yesterday? So Flamengo, I think Leo, you mentioned him. Luis Araujo was brilliant. I mean, like Flamengo were completely in control of that game, nearly 70% possession. They scored early, they controlled it. The second goal, especially, was, it was
with
gorgeous.
a Jorginho assist.
I was about to say, like, you see that, like Jorginho. The intelligence of that pass, because it was really disguised in that really tight angle he had to find, and yet but the finish as well. And obviously you were saying like Luis Araujo was playing for Lille. He also played for he was in the MLS as well. He was with Atlanta actually. So clearly has played at a high level, but you can see why. Like that left foot of his is fantastic, and I think he got the assist for the first goal as well, didn't he?
Luis Araujo, yeah.
So, I mean, that's such having quality players in there. I think Flamengo you probably see like once they play Chelsea again, the pace against their back line, they might get caught out, but they do have quality in there. And so, but I forget which game coming up next. Oh, that's right, it's Flamengo against Chelsea next. So because Flamengo already have those 3 points, they're sort of safe for the Chelsea game. They can take it slow, they can take it easy, try and get a point. But then it really is. But the great thing is, the next match, LAFC against Tunis, both teams have to go for it. Both teams need to win. Otherwise, a draw does nothing, essentially. It is too much. So, that'll be a really exciting game.
And you said that Flamengo controlled the game, and I think there is a stat that says that Flamengo were better in terms of creativity, of ball control. It's the accurate passes. I'm just watching on the top 10 players with the most accurate passes. There are 9 Flamengo players and just 1 for Tunis. So the visual impression is clear into the stats too. So it was a good game, but Flamengo showed that they were the better team, and then the result is just logic by watching the game. Sorry, Sean.
No, it's okay. I just kind of to go through today's schedule because there's 4 matches again. Today the early. Once again, these are Eastern time. Fluminense Dortmund is at 12 p.m. Eastern. River Plate Urawa Reds 3 p.m. Eastern. Ulsan Mamelodi Sundown 6 p.m. Eastern, and then the late game is Monterrey Inter, which I think probably is the most intriguing. They're all intriguing games for different reasons, but obviously Inter just lost the Champions League final. Monterrey is a good team, so I think the first game Fluminense Dortmund, Group F, the teams it's Dortmund, Fluminense, Mamelodi, and Ulsan. This is at MetLife Stadium. Once again, they're playing here with the Brazilian fans in North Jersey. I think there should be some pretty good attendance here. Should be maybe any chance of a Fluminense result here? Any chance of an upset, or is Dortmund too strong?
When so Leo and I in our preview for the Club World Cup contributed 6 of the 8 groups, I think, between us, didn't we, Leo?
Yeah.
So I covered ENF, and in researching a lot about Fluminense's players, everything that I've read tells me that they might get destroyed in this match. The thing is, Borussia Dortmund. First of all, I put in the piece that my key player for Dortmund is Girassi. Who was actually one of the best strikers in the world this previous season. I think he got 34 goals and 7 or 9 assists. He had 43 goal contributions across the whole season, which was more than twice as many as any other Dortmund player. But the thing is, he's kind of this perfect striker because he also has pace. He can link up really, really well, and consider the two wingers outside him, Adeyemi and Jamie Gittins, whose paces are terrifying. Like we were talking before about Chelsea's pace against the other teams in the group. Like those two would terrify any defense. So my worry is that Fluminense will have to sit so deep that the only hope is therefore to hit on the counterattack. But their major goal contribution is from a striker called Germain Keno, I think, which I think Leo might remember. Like he played in the French league at one point.
Can you repeat his name, please?
Germain Cano, Cano. I think he was in the French league. I might be wrong about that though. He's 37.
He's 37, right? Yeah.
But here's the thing: he has a goal every 108 minutes, which is an astonishing record for the past season. But the thing is, he's also injured, or rather, he's just come back from an injury. So we don't know if he's recovered yet or if he's match fit. But he's also not the type of player who can take on a team by himself. He needs he needs creativity around him. Now he does have a really good. There's a winger for Fluminense, John Arias, I think it is.
Arias,
yeah. Who those two have a really good attacking partnership. That is basically the only way they're going to hurt Dortmund. And like I say, considering Cano or Kano, how you say it, is not a guarantee for this game, Fluminense really struggle for goals. So my instinct says that they will almost certainly just have to basically kill the game, sit deep, and just basically almost play out for a 0-0 or a 1-0 steal. But my instinct says Dortmund that will just have too much pace, too much creativity, and yeah, I have a feeling that this could be quite easy for Dortmund.
Yeah, but to me, it's the game I'm looking forward the most because I think it could be a game in the vein of Palmeiras, Porto, and yesterday's Boca Juniors, Benfica. It's an intriguing fixture. As you said, Serhou Guirassy had a terrific season in 2024, 2025, but also with Stuttgart 2 years ago. And it's kind of surprising because when he was playing for Rennes, for Stade Rennes, I think it was now almost a decade ago. It was in 2017. I wouldn't have bet on this form for this player. And yeah, he's surely one of the best strikers in the world today. He proved it in two different teams. And he was the last UCL top scorer with Rafinha also. Dortmund has
he scored that incredible hat trick against Barcelona, didn't he?
Yeah.
In the quarterfinal.
Yeah, Dortmund is a team I like, but now I don't think it's a team that can win the competition. They miss, for example, Nico Schlotterbeck on defense, which is one of the best defender in the Bundesliga. And just to say something about Fluminense, once again, has a Liga enjoyer watching Thiago Silva and Gonzo, who used to play in the French league a few years ago, and Thiago Silva, who is a real legend in the championship and at PSG, will be a good thing for us too. So yeah, it's an intriguing match to me.
It's interesting, we talk about this one, and the other match in the group is Olsen and Mamelodi, which that's a huge match now because look at if Dortmund wins or whatever happens in the first match, if there's a winner in Olsen and Mamelodi, all of a sudden, hey Pedro, all of a sudden, that 3 points, and you're in a chance with it to qualify out of this group. And we talked about it. I think Mamelodi got to the Champions League final. Olsen, obviously, a good team as well. So one of these teams has a chance to really, put a marker down. 3 points in the first match is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Olsen Hyundai for their full name, and Mamelodi Sundowns. That's the one I'm really looking forward to because we mentioned before about having two distinct styles of play. Olsen have been really strong in the K League the last couple of seasons. They're currently third, but they're still in the title race. But they do tend to be more solid defensively than expansive attacking football. And actually, the player I said to pick out was Kim Young-Gwon, who is 7th or 8th record cap player for South Korea. He's 35 now, but he has more progressive passes in the final third than any other defender in the K League. So he is kind of one of the most creative players, and he's a 35-year-old defender. They are very solid defensively, and they just rely on certain moments like that. But Mamelodi Sundowns are quite unique because they more comparative to Inter in that they have a really potent strike partnership, which is quite rare in world football now. So they've got a Brazilian second striker called Ribeiro, who I highlighted as the key player to watch. But he mostly operates as a second striker behind the top goal scorer Ikram Reyes, I think his name is. But those two have contributed 64 goals between them in goals and assists. Like that is an astonishing amount. So Mamelodi Sundowns, even they are, to be fair, they are the dominant force in South African football, and but they also got to the final of the Champions League.
Yeah,
they lost to Egypt's club Pyramids, but they are an attacking team, and that is their instinct. So it's going to be really fun watching a really attacking team against a very defensive team, and see basically we don't know comparatively what level they are with each other. So it's going to be a really fun watch just to see the instincts go at it and see what happens.
Yeah, and concerning the Sundowns, they also have Ronwell Williams to the goal, who showcased in the last Africa Cup of Nations, and he was ranked in the Lev Yashin Trophy at the Ballon d'Or ceremony. So I look forward to this. To see this game, even if I will not pretend I know those teams because I never watched them. But this is what also intriguing me because I want to discover some players and some new teams. Pedro, how are you?
Sorry, before we go to Pedro, we talked about crowds before. This might be a really fun atmosphere. Yeah, because if you think back to we mentioned earlier the 2010 World Cup, right? Regardless of which African nation we're playing, they had just the entire crowd behind them, and the atmosphere was astonishing. And that's when the rest of the world were introduced to vuvuzelas. And you get the feeling
Sean has one in his background.
Yeah, there's
oh, right, of course, yeah.
It's actually from the World Cup in 2010. Yeah, that's right.
So I get the feeling that regardless of how many fans there are for this match, it's going to be a fun atmosphere. It's going to be a really energetic, engaged one. So yeah, like I say, I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah. Pedro, how are you?
I'm pretty cool, and you guys?
Oh, fine, thanks.
Okay.
3 games yesterday.
Let me talk about the Benfica game. Much more fun to watch than the Porto game, of course, with 4 goals. Benfica trailed by 2, could bounce back. But I want to talk about the referee and about something that I think everybody saw, who is violent conduct, artful, bad behavior from the players. I'm really disgusted with that. And it was VAR in the second half who called the ref and say, "Hey, check this image. This is violent conduct. You need to put the game under control. We are losing control about the match." And I was checking the replay. What I saw, 2-3 players tackling one. I saw players pushing each other, artful, unnecessary use of force. And I think to myself, so the players think because there's a Latino referee from Mexico, they can do everything they want. If they can play violent, they cannot respect the rules. They can act childish, and they are professional players, very, very well paid. And I hope what I have seen from yesterday doesn't repeat in other matches, because of course the refs are there to make their job. They're the VAR to call the ref if they saw something susceptible to be reviewed by the ref, like violent conduct or penalties, whatever. But I hope when Latino teams are playing and they see that ref it's a long open game, they don't behave like this because it's not good for the show, doesn't pass a good image. And it was a bad image what Boca Juniors and Benfica did yesterday because, for example, in Premier League, they cannot tackle like this. They cannot push like this. They cannot argue with the referee like this. The referee, it was very open-minded. 2 red cards, penalties, which could book much more. For example, one play over Pavlidis in the second half, for me, it's a clear penalty. The Boca Juniors defended, sweep the Benfica forward, and the referee said, no, it's nothing. It was a normal play. No, it was not a normal play. This is a foul. It's a penalty. Okay. So my concern is about this game is when Latino teams are playing, if the refs can have the control from the beginning, from the first half. They need to control, they need to book the fouls and show yellow cards. If they need to show a yellow card every drive, they show the yellow card. It's in the rules, They need to control the game. The other match I saw, it was the Chelsea game, of course, I have to say, Chelsea was fair, they did the job done, they controlled the pace, controlled the game, and it was a clean win by Chelsea, has respected, and we talked about it yesterday. So that's my thoughts, that's my concern, that I would like to hear your opinion. What the refs should do when they assist the games with violent conduct, excessive use of strength, and bad behavior from the players.
Daniel or Sean?
Well, it was going to be interesting because obviously free and refereeing, say, European matches, English fans get a little bit, a bit about themselves, about many things. But in regards to like the Premier League, for example, the Premier League tends to be a bit more physical league than, say, other European leagues. So therefore, when it goes to the Champions League and fouls are given for what English fans or English club fans would consider quite soft. But that's kind of like, that's where the standard is set right across UEFA generally. It's just in the Premier League, there's more context behind it, right? And obviously now you get in the Club World Cup, rightly so, you have international referees, but they all have a background in different physicality of leagues. There's no universal rules, despite the fact there are universal rules. It's quite strange. But then this is the interpretation of the referee. Absolutely right. I think the ref did lose control of the game. And even though I think all three, I don't know about Ander Herrera's red card from the substitute bench, but the other 2 red cards were red cards. But I do think you would not get that last red card, the Figal challenge for Boca. Had the referee been firmer earlier on in the match, I don't think that happens. I don't think he launches in with that same aggression and that same, I don't want to say willingness to injure, but it wasn't a safe tackle. Had he clamped down on the match earlier, chances are that there will be less risky challenges made. And you made the point about like there'll be more controlled behaviour from the fans. But then these rules were brought in. The rules were brought in last season about more yellow cards for dissent, for approaching the referee.
Yeah,
and that lasted about 3-4 months before it then sort of gently rode back. But I don't understand why, because it did seem to be working. And now the rules, I think, state that it is just the captain of a club. I think they're either in or they're about to come in. Only the captain of the team can talk to the referee regularly. And then when the referee approaches a player specifically, then they can converse. But yeah, what we saw yesterday was not that. And you do have to blame the referee. Like I say, I do think the red cards were all red cards from what I could tell. Belotti's in the 7th for Benfica. I don't think he meant any harm, but it was a stud to the side of the head. It's sort of like out of control and trying to stretch for the ball. Not necessarily aggressive. It was just careless.
It was just dangerous. Yeah.
It was dangerous. But yeah, like I say, the red card at the end for Figal for Boca, I don't think that would have happened had the referee had more of a grip on the game.
Yeah. Because if we just take a look at the stats, it just gave 4 yellow cards and the other ones were 3 red cards, so including Ander Herrera's one. In a game that it would have not been a scandal to see more bookings to the players with all the faults there were.
Like one of those no-win situations, simply because I think perhaps we would have been saying about the referee. I think this was a game that was always likely to get quite physical and quite spicy. So what we want as football fans is for games to run and to not be constantly stopped for fouls and stopped for niggly little things. But as Pedro said, it crossed the line, and when it crossed the line, the referee couldn't get it back.
This is the problem I think you have at all tournaments, where anytime you have a tournament at World Cup, it happens at the Euros to some extent, but I think in Europe as a whole, I mean, you see when Spanish referees are doing it or whoever, but when you start to get matches that involve the entire world, the World Cup, this tournament, and you have referees from different continents coming in, and there's different styles of play in those continents that they don't allow. I mean, the Premier League is refereed different than the French league and the everything, and the Brazilian league. I mean, you watch those matches and they let a lot more stuff go. So when you get these games, sometimes, and then you have a referee from somewhere, and it happens all the time in the World Cup, and the referee ends up being the center of attention, and you're talking about the ref instead of talking about the game, which was a fantastic match. You're talking about the ref and how they let someone almost decapitate somebody with a kick. But yeah, I think it's tough because you can't, as the tournament goes on, you're always gonna, you see in the Champions League, it's always the Simon Marciniak or whatever is the Polish guy, or Clement, the guys you see, the main guys, the big guys, the main referees all the time, like the real good ones. Early in the tournament, it's different. You get people from all over the place. So, but I think that it adds to the way the tournament, every match is refereed differently. And if it was in a bubble, if someone else is refereeing the match, it would have been a different match. So it adds to the whole tournament, I think,
Yeah.
Although we should probably point out as well, I mean, first of all, as I said, it does seem impossible because obviously every referee, every national FA, their referees have their own interpretation of the rules. The rules are universal, and yet us as fans living in all these different countries, we all have a slightly different idea of how we want it, how the rules enforced. So it's always going to be impossible. But also, I think something to remember is, of course, that almost not irrelevant whether we agree or disagree with the referee, but these referees are the best nominated by their countries, more or less. So these are essentially the elite referees from their different national FAs. And I think we have to kind of accept that there are going to be things we disagree with and things that we don't like and things this, that, and the other. But also, I don't think there's really an alternative. There's not like a fix all. There's not like this is a better option because this is the way of things. This is the one of the best referees from. Did you say it was Mexico, Pedro?
Yeah.
If he's one of the best referees in Mexico, then he's one of the best referees in Mexico. And we have to kind of respect how he does the game. It's just obviously we disagree with how he did it. And much to safety of the players, which I think is the part that really we struggle with.
Yeah.
And then there's to talk quickly about the two other matches today. The other group, River Plate and Urawa Reds at 3, Monterrey Inter at 9. Both once again. I mean, the River Plate. I think people. They're a pretty big club. Urawa is obviously a big club as well. Monterrey Inter just lost the Champions League final. They got absolutely annihilated. It should have been 8-0. How do they bounce back? Do they even care about being here at this point? Monterrey is a tough team. They don't give up a lot of goals. I mean, if you watch the Mexican League games, every game is either 1-0 or 1. Every single game is like 1-0, 1-1, 0-0. Like it's very they're cagey games. I think that's how Inter wants to play. We're like, yeah, man, Inter wants to keep PSG here. And, they want to try to win 1-0. That kind of went out the window in the first half. But, between these games, I mean, which ones are you looking at here?
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Sorry, what did you say, Daniel?
I was going to say, Leo, would you like to go first this time?
Between the 4 games of the day, I will firstly watch the Fluminense Dortmund because of all the reasons we talked about earlier. But if we just talk about the two last games of the day, Monterrey Inter seems to be, to me, the most. I want to watch it because of Monterrey's experienced player, Sergio Ramos and Sergio Canales, which is a good player, and also to see how, as you said, Sean, Inter bounce back after its terrible end of the season, because they not only lost the Champions League final, they also lost the treble, the Italian treble,
they
with
collapsed.
the cup and the league. So it will be interesting. And Monterrey, there is also Lucas Ocampos, who used to play at OM and Sevilla in the last few years. So it will be an intriguing fixture, I think.
I think that's a tough match. I think it's a tough match for Inter right away. They collapsed. Inter ran out of gas. I mean, if you watch, they're an older team. They 100% ran out of gas. The worst thing for them, because they ended up losing, was getting to that Champions League final. If they would have lost in the quarterfinals, I think they would have had enough to hold on to maybe win the title and maybe win one of the cups. They were playing on 3 fronts, and they 100% ran out of gas. You could see it the last month. They were limping to the line, and they didn't end up winning anything. And I'm sure they just want to be on holiday right now, and now they got to come over here and play this. I think that's a really tough match for them to have to play the first match of the tournament.
Yeah.
Something I forgot to mention before, but I'm going to say it now because I'm about to mention a transfer. So River Plate, obviously they've got there's another 17-year-old setting the world alight in Europe currently, but in River Plate there's Mastantuono, who has got so many people talking about his technical ability, and it is scary. His left foot is terrifying. But he's, I believe it's right saying, do correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but Real Madrid have just paid his minimum fee release clause. I think it's 45 million euros.
45, and it's official.
He'll be moving in the middle of August once he turns 18. So he will be with River Plate for this tournament. But it will be really fun to watch River Plate with him, because obviously this is his developmental club. It's like Esteval for one of the Brazilian clubs, but he's obviously moving to Chelsea. But yeah, so it's really interesting seeing these young players, these South American players who are on the move, but obviously they want to leave on a good note and they want to be showing the best version of themselves. Yeah, Mastantuono it will be really fun to watch. Canales for Monterrey. Canales is the beating heart of that team. I think he's played more minutes than any other player, including the goalkeeper. He has offered more assists or more goal contributions than anyone else. He is, very much the creativity of that side. So that'll be really tough for Inter. But the other one I forgot to mention was Dortmund announcing the signing of Joe Bellingham. So should Dortmund and Real Madrid get to the quarterfinals, they would meet each other. And then you would potentially have the battles of the Bellinghams.
This would be fun to watch. And for you, Pedro, what is the game you will be looking at watching?
I really enjoyed to hear from you guys and your expertise in soccer. So I was just listening. I want to see one thing. One is the fusion between the young players and the old players and how the things can work out together. And the second thing I want to also to check is the Inter performance, because as Leo said, they fall apart, and it's interesting to see what type of statement they want to do. So it's the game I will follow with more attention. And I want to say thank you. It's a pleasure for being with you guys and listen from you, learn about you. You taught me a lot, and I hope that you want to keep me in the show to give my opinion about the game.
Thanks, Pedro. I appreciate it.
Final thing for me to say on Inter, which I would say give me, if I were an Inter fan, encouragement, is that Christian Chivu, their new manager, they just got from Parma, considering the short amount of time from the turnover between Inzaghi and him, he's not really one, as is my understanding, having such a clear, distinct tactical identity. What chances are he will be able to come in and actually use what was already there. So rather than try and change everything, say, for example, like Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid, who has a very distinct tactical idea, and then trying to get his players that he's only just met. I think Christian Chivu is far more skilled at coming into an environment that's already there and working with what he's got. So he won't be ripping up the floorboards just yet. I think he'll be really skilled at just navigating these beats, these early stages with his new team. So I think Inter would be better than we think. The emotional impact, but I think I would be enthused as an Inter fan. I think he's a really interesting choice for manager.
Okay.
All right. So that's our episode 4. 4 matches today, and then tomorrow we have the big boys: Man City, Real Madrid, Juventus, and I guess we'll call Salzburg a big one. No, maybe not. But yeah, Man City, Real Madrid, Juventus, some of the stronger teams. Two of the clear favorites, in the tournament here. So, but today maybe is the more interesting damn matches because we're not sure how this is going to go. So make sure you're tuned in tomorrow. Remember, like, subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on X. Follow us on Kick, wherever you're watching this. I know the people on Kick have been supportive with their comments there. So we will see you again tomorrow. And thanks, everybody, for joining in.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Pedro. Have a nice day.